And again, just a little bit about myself. I'm the regional director for the Minority Business Assistance Center. And again, our goal is to basically assist our entrepreneurs and every aspect of their business, whether it is from ideation stage to growing and scaling. But we mainly work for people who really want to scale and grow by providing technical assistance, giving resources. A lot of people don't realize that, the state of Ohio have many opportunities to get, right now they offer grants just due to COVID-19. So if you haven't applied yet and you need that for your business, you should go ahead and apply, along with different lending programs, bonding, and other lending opportunities as well. So we just want you to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that we have before you. So I've been working with entrepreneurs probably, 15 years plus now. I'm a certified business advisor as well as a growthful business advisor. And so I've done this class in multiple capacities and in some previous work that I've done. And it seems to be the same where, I know when people start off in business or been in business for a few years, it's difficult for them to really understand, the pricing elements of, when do I raise prices? When is it appropriate, when it's not appropriate. So we're going to take away some things today as we talk about that. So some of the key elements today, we're going to talk about good salesmanship, overcoming barriers, and signs that a price hike is necessary. So when is the right time to do it and when it's not? We're going to talk about overcoming barriers. So I want this to be interactive, Chester and Keith, so you can talk back to me. So I'm not talking to myself. Okay. And then we're going to talk about some pricing strategies, so that you at least have a couple of options that you can actually take action right away and figure out how that you want to implement these strategies. So talking about good salesmanship and what that really is, and if I had some females on here as well, I guess Sharon and Janine, I would say salesmanship too. But one of the things that we do when we enter in as business owners, called the beginner's mistake, when we think we cannot charge more for our services. I'm new in the industry, I'm new in the field, maybe I'll just get my feet wet. And so I'll just charge a little bit less than everybody else. So, part of being a good salesmanship is understanding that that's not, you don't necessarily have to come in, especially if you have the expertise, thinking that you have to provide lower prices. One thing that we want to be a good steward about is also making sure that we predict our cash flow and creating a cash flow statement. That is very critical from the beginning, and to do it almost annually so that you can adjust, especially now during the pandemic. I think it's important for us to realize that we need to be honest with ourselves and see where we are cash flow wise. What are we predicting in the future? What are our expectations? And that's really outlining our expenses and our revenue and trying to figure out from the future how much we're going to bring in for, the next 12 months or so. Another thing we need to consider is how we evaluate our time. If you're working 80 hours a week, 90 hours a week, and really not considering the time that you spend on the services that you provide, or, the products that you're producing. And in this case, you guys are service-based, and not really thinking to yourself, is the time that I'm putting in really the value of what I'm charging my customers and the pricing that I'm using? That's something that you really need to kind of take and evaluate, because your time matters, you know what I mean? And so that's important. I think we have this mindset that as an entrepreneur, I'm supposed to be working 100 hours a week. I'm supposed to be working harder than everybody else. But there's a method to that madness. And so I want you to kind of think about the mindset that you have, about the time that you're spending into it, and the way you're pricing your customers and clients. So we'll get more in detail into that. The other piece is about understanding the difference between company income and personal income. So even if you're paying yourself a really good salary, okay, the other thing is to consider is your business really making a profit outside of what the salary that you're paying yourself? And the reason why you have to practice good salesmanship when it comes to that is that oftentimes when we want to go for and scale our business with capital, and we want to go to a lender or a financial institution, what they see in the last 3 years is a company that's not making any profit because we wrote off all the expenses, and we're paying ourselves all to the penny, right? But the key to understanding is that if your business is not making any profit, financial institutions say, why should we invest in you? And we don't see any profits. So that's another thing about making sure that, yes, you're paying yourself, that you're good, but also your business is making a good, nice profit so that you can be validated when it comes to the lending and all of that. Now, if you're not, then that's another cue about looking at your prices and wondering and evaluating what's really going on. And you guys can stop me at any time if you have any questions. So the first thing I'm going to do is ask you guys, mind over matter, what's your barrier? And then we'll come back to this presentation. And I want you guys to fill out this poll. What's your barrier when it comes to raising prices? And I think, Chester, you kind of gave us an idea already. But I want you to pick at one of these sections and say, is it fear of losing an order or a client? Is that a barrier for you? Do you think that you don't have enough experience as an owner? Maybe that your products are low in value, or you don't want to deceive customers, or you just don't feel good enough. There's all kind of psychological factors about how we feel about money in general, and that sometimes project on how we present ourselves as business owners. But there's not enough time in the day to talk about the psychological factors about how we feel personally about money. But just know that sometimes that projects over into how we run our businesses, because we think like, oh my goodness, can I really charge that? And then how we feel about that eternally as well. So it looks like, one of you, and Chester, maybe, I don't know if Keith didn't fill out one, whatever, but fear of losing an order and clients is definitely, probably, I would say, one of the top reasons why people just say, if I do this, am I going to lose my clients? You know what I mean? And then when don't have enough experience as an owner. And both of them are valid reasons of why you would stop you from saying, I don't know if this is the right time or not. So we're going to have some more dialogue about that and figure out, what can we do about those mindsets? I'm going to share the results here. But we're going to talk about the mindset and how to overcome some of those barriers as we walk through the presentation.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
One of the things that I think that for me, I have a decent client base. And, some of my clients that first came with me when I first started out, you offer them the package deal that occurs annually. And, I have made small price increases,
Okay.
but as I feel that, as I go forward with these smaller companies and they're struggling and so forth, that I don't want to, ruin that relationship with them because I want to say add another $50 to a maintenance agreement. Because I'm trying to be fair about it and saying, okay, I want my company to make profit, but I also want to sustain my client base because those are the folks that's going to give me the reviews. They're going to do all of the stuff that I'm going to, have possibly put on social media, things of that nature. And, I just feel that I need to be a little bit more mindful, especially during this time, that, cash-strapped organizations, everybody's looking to save a little bit of money. Even these large Fortune 100 companies are doing this
Right.
from this perspective. So, you just have to make sure that you don't want to lose that customer base. And that's
And we're
one of my
going to talk
big fears
about that. And I'm glad you asked, because we're going to talk about the mindset shift about other options and other pricing strategies that you can use to keep your loyal customers and bring in new customers on as well. So there are options. So I give you the example of how, I don't know if you guys have gone into any restaurants lately. And so one thing that I kind of noticed, well, first, everybody's social distancing and it's not as many people in the restaurant. So that's one thing. So we all know what's going on in terms of the pandemic, right? And then the other thing that I've noticed is that my favorite dishes that I normally order from these restaurants are higher priced. Now, thinking from the business owner perspective, there's a couple of things that are happening. One, I probably don't have the same type of talent that I'm using, or I don't have the same type of workers that came back, so I had to decrease my staff. Secondly, so if I had to decrease the number of customers I can bring in at a time, okay? So there's only things to kind of keep afloat is that I had to raise my prices, or most of those restaurant owners have to raise their prices. So if you notice, if you go to any restaurants, you'll say, you know what, I was paying $14.99 for this dish, and now I'm paying $18.99 for this dish. Okay.
Just had that experience.
You just had that experience, Keith. Where did you go?
Roadhouse.
Huh?
Texas Roadhouse in far west side of Columbus.
Okay.
And
you saw that?
Yes.
Now I just saw in First Watch where there was a sign that says, due to steak prices increasing, we have increased our steak dish to $16.99 or something like that. So it's a higher price for beef or what's going on. And again, these are things that we're going to talk about in this presentation, because these are the things that are happening that you have to look not only just internally on how you feel about your customers, but what's going on externally and why it's important to consider those things as well.
Thank you, Ms. Gayle. I'm really glad that you're bringing that up, and thank you once again for this opportunity. And one of the things that really concern me along those lines is, as a new business owner, I'm concerned about staying competitive with those who are in the same field, who've been around a lot longer, have contacts, know immediately how their pricing is going to affect bidding on contracts, and me staying competitive, not isolating myself because I'm small and new to the game.
Right. Well, hold tight and let's have those
hopefully that falls in line with what you were referring to.
Yeah. So let's have that dialogue when we get to the end of this presentation. It'll be good to kind of brainstorm on those options that's available to you. So here's just a listing of some signs it's time to kind of hike your prices. So on the left side, 1 through 4, it's kind of internal things. On the right side of this presentation, it really talks about the external factors that affect your company. On the right side, if you're overwhelmed with work, which a lot of people are right now for sure, because you're working harder, it seems like, because of what's going on with the pandemic. But if you're really overwhelmed and you feel like you're not meeting your deadlines, you're not doing the things that you can't make your deliveries on time, there's just too much going on, this is a sign it might be time to hike your prices, okay? If you're not reaching your ideal client, and this might be for Chester more so, you have to think about the ideal client that you really want to serve, right? So you might be figuring out that the person that you are spending a lot of your time with is the one like, can I get 2 for 1? Them kind of clients, but you really, when you go to bed at night and you really dreaming about the customer that you really, really want, you're like, that's not the person that I really want to serve. So something like that, if you're not reaching the ideal client that you really want to serve, it may be a sign it's time to hike your prices. Cutting corners, and I know that neither one of you are doing this, but I put it in the presentation anyway. If people who have products and services feel like that the quality that they're putting out is just not right, like, if I'm making a dress or something and I realize that the material that I got is really not quality, but the customer doesn't know that, and I realize I'm cutting corners just to kind of push it out the door or something like that, that might be an indication that it's time to make a change, okay? And then also if you haven't raised prices in a long period of time. So for the both of you, if you look at the time plan that you've been in business, have you ever had a price change since you've been in business at all? Either
I
one
would
of you?
say, yeah, I would say I have made price changes, and this would be more on the lines of um, what I see in the industry.
Okay.
So again, maintenance agreements. This is annual maintenance agreements that I work with my customers to say that I'll do all this work annually for this particular price. So for example, maintaining their website, they can send me anything during the week or during the month, or this maintenance agreement, that I will, do that for that certain price. So they usually prepay, so that I'm obligated to go ahead and work on that. But if they ask for, some larger fix or something like that, that is considered a project and that's outside of scope, which is in my contracts. So that from that point, I usually raise my fees at least $50 to $100, depending on the customer's size. So if they're
Okay.
smaller, the fee is not raised as much. If they're a little bit larger, then the fee, is usually $100 increase. I don't try to go past that, but it may come down to that. I may have to go higher, but I try to stay within the market and the industry framework. So usually my base price for certain standard products, which obviously don't cut corners on because you're dealing with money and things of that nature.
Okay.
So the standard price is, I haven't raised the standard price to get like an e-commerce site up and running, because that's usually still the standard pricing in the industry is a fair pricing. Raising it any higher could cost, clients to go elsewhere. But I do find folks that go elsewhere, they get suckered in, the technical term, into a into a pricing model that they're actually paying more at the end of their product when they go somewhere else than through me, because I'm upfront pricing. And the people that they go to are rear load, then they come back to me and say, I wish I went through you. And
Right.
I was like, yeah, well, yeah, I wish you did too, but
Right.
I just have everything that's considered upfront pricing. If you don't like that price, you just have to kind of deal with that, or you
Right.
can find somebody else to do it.
Right. That's good. That's good. What about you, Keith? Are you still charging the same thing for a while?
Yes, pretty much. And it's
Okay.
been based on primarily just what my expenses are, and times three, and factoring that in with what my competition is doing, and
Okay.
trying to stay somewhere, along competitive lines there. Yeah. So
Okay.
long as I can
So
stay
this is
operational.
good because it's good. I'm able to gauge which strategies that you're using. And you may not know what the terms are, but we'll get to that in a minute when we talk about pricing strategies, or which method that you guys are using and how you can implement different strategies inside what you're already doing. So that's good. That's good. Um, if you look on the external factors, and this may affect, I would say, both of you in some capacity, some of the external factors that we don't consider when we don't raise prices is cost inflation. You know what I mean? When the last time you gave yourself a cost of living raise in your business? Things that we don't consider. Anticipatory pricing, and this could be too high due to some type of government controls. This could be if, for example, if there was some type of regulatory requirement that you had to do for your business that raised the expenses. This would be another sign that you would raise your prices for whatever reason. Gas prices, you can't control them. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I go in a grocery store and I'm just looking like, why is milk so high? There's certain things that are not, that you can't control. And so we not only have to think about the internal factors that cause us to make those decisions about whether we raise prices or not, but we also got to take in consideration the external factors about things that, even though they're not under control, but we probably should pass that on to our consumers. We shouldn't have to eat the cost. And so again, it's taking that mindset and this understanding, like, you know, I have to be comfortable with that. And if I can justify my increase in costs because now I have this mandate that I have to charge more, or I have, you know, it's the pandemic right now, and I'm sorry, steak prices went up, and so I have to charge an extra $1 or $2, you know. So those are justifications for that. These are things that I couldn't control, but hopefully you'll understand, you know. And then the other thing that is time to hike a price, obviously, if you, what you have to offer is over demand. Now, I can tell you, for what Target is paying for a mask right now, is ridiculous. And if you haven't gotten your free mask from us, just reach out to us. We have masks here available. But that is an example of a product or service that's in over demand right now, that, you know, people need to wear masks as a mandate. So people are charging some crazy dollars for you to order masks, you know. So I would imagine any sanitizing items. I haven't seen a bottle of Lysol in a long, long time. For some reason, it just can't never store up on the shelf. So when y'all find it, would y'all please let me know?
Yes, we're having problems with that as well. We can't find any Lysol wipes or anything.
Can't find them. But I bet you if you see them, now I'll tell you this, when this first pandemic hit, I went to go get some sugar, and sugar was out. You know, this is when everybody was running, taking everything out the grocery store. And there was just a, you know, not a name, some name brand sugar I ain't never heard of, but it was like $3.89 or almost $4. I was like, and it was a little bag of sugar, but I had to take it because there wasn't no sugar left. So, you know, again, you know, you look at grocery stores could be a great gauging point and figure out how they just do things. They will raise a price in just a drop of a hat. You're like, okay, beef wasn't that high last week. Why is it this high this week? You know what I mean? I just wanted a steak today. They don't care nothing about you chose to use steak this week. You know what I mean? It was just like, no matter what. Right. So again, they're willing to do that from that perspective. You have to have that mindset. Not that you would be changing every other week. I'm not suggesting that. But what I'm saying is that just think of it from an owner's perspective when those external factors, in their case, probably, you know, with when you had the farms and you had the plants that were delivering chicken and it just, people were getting COVID, and then you look at the prices of chicken. I couldn't find chicken wings. I was like, what is going on? You know, so just think of the external factors that can, you know, affect your business as well. So just keep that in mind. So I want to leave you this quote: your pricing sets the tone for the kind of company you want to be and the type of clientele you intend to serve. So again, taking some time to really think about what type of clientele do I really, not that I have already, but that I really want to serve. And so that is the time to be reflective on, am I really serving the type of person or type of clients that I really want to serve so I can get the revenue that I really want to achieve? And so that takes some time to kind of think about some of those things. And just in case you're still not convinced, like Kim, you're not convincing me, I'm just not doing this price hike. Just some other things to kind of keep in mind. If you really want to grow your business, you have to think of this. It's more expensive to acquire new customers than it is to raise prices. Because the time that it goes for you to sell takes 6 or 7 times to get that sale to convert. It costs you more to do that than it is to raise your prices just a little bit. All right. Goes back to the thing, quality is better than quantity. So raising prices is more effective than selling more. And all of that is a mind shift. Okay. And then 2, if you do raise your prices, your customers might be holding you back from really growing. And this kind of differentiates the good from the bad. You have some that's going to take advantage because they know that you're cheaper, you know, and then because they're so loyal, it keeps you from raising your prices. So mentally, they playing a game on you and you don't even know it. And then competition. Of course, you want to catch up, and it looks like the both of you are doing that really, really well. Just trying to keep up with the market, your competitors, and trying to find out what are they, and you constantly have to do that analysis. I used to tell people in my class, I said, you know, I give you all the permission to be nosy 24/7. If you got to walk up in the restaurant and you have a restaurant, you want to see how the service is done and the pricing is, if you have to make phone calls like you the customer or you the client to find out what they're charging and how their process works, by all means, I give you permission today to be nosy, okay? Because you need to know for sure what's really going on out there. Make a statement. It's danger of low price strategies. Now, this you often see as you know, I mean, you can see it. You can have the generic version sitting next to, you know, we talk about detergent a lot. So you have the Kroger version or that version, and then you have Tide. You know, sometimes lower price, a customer can perceive it to be not as quality, even though that may not even be the case. You know, our mama say, you know, that tastes just like the name brand. We just gonna get that. I don't care what you say. We putting the spaghetti in this spot, you know. But for customers, when you're starting your business and when you're out there projecting your business, sometimes people perceive it, if you have low prices, to perceive to be, you know, low quality. Now, if you do raise your prices, it is going to force you to improve your service level, include high value products and services. So you may have to offer something that you normally wouldn't offer before, just so that the quality, you have increased the value that you're going to give to your customer. You know, so that's something that takes time to think about, is that, yes, I want to increase my prices. Perhaps I need to add something to that package, or I need to add a little bit more so that they can get the level of service that they really need. You know, it's all kind of creative things that's happening, especially right now during the pandemic. I went and got, I like Crips and Cup, and I just happened to drop my daughter off at schools, and it's closer over there. And I just wanted a smoothie, and I'm thinking, I see this food truck, and I walk up, and they're taking orders from the food truck, and then you just park around, and then they bring you your meal. I said they didn't have a drive-through, so that was a creative way to get people that for social distancing didn't have to come in. I said, oh, that was creative, you know. So again, just, you know, being creative in terms of when it comes to pricing, of ways that you can add more value, even though you're going to raise your prices. So just thinking of it that way. So now that we're here, let's talk a little bit about key pricing strategies that you may consider. And both of you have probably picked the one that I would say more of market prices, what your competitors are offering. So we kind of know what that is. You kind of search the market, you kind of see what your market, you know, what your market value is based on your competitors and what they're doing. Markup is a little different. With markup pricing, you put together all your expenses that you have, and then you add the percentage you want to earn, okay? And so it does require some type of analysis of like, okay, do I need a 3% increase, a 5% increase, a 4% increase? How can I do it by percentages and not just flat fee like Chester, I think you said $50 or $100. So it's really just grasping up what all your expenses are, and then what you really want to achieve as far as the revenue for your business, and seeing what the percentage is for that. The other option is, and you see this all the time, but I think small business owners really don't use this. For some, they don't use it. I don't know why, but they just don't use discounts. I think they think it's just for retail stores, right? So with discounts, You know, there's a principle that everybody wants to make a good deal. So they believe they bought a good, you know, at a lower price. And there are different types of discounts. You have seasonal discounts, you have quantity discounts, you have bonus systems. As long as you price it high enough from the start, the discounts will help you bring your prices up and not down. So when you think about, Chester, your clients from a package perspective, maybe there's first special items that they get during that time frame that you can get more clients in the door just as a special discount or seasonal. We see it all the time. I haven't fall for the okie doke. Like you go in a retail store and you say, oh, it's 50% off. And I look at the price and I was like, that's the same price. If you just take the 50%, that's the price I was going to pay anyway. Am I right? So you
You're
thinking you
right.
going in there and it's 50% off and I'm like, but the dress that was normally $49.99 is now $79.99 and you telling me 50% off. I think I'm paying the same. You know what I mean? So, but that's the psychological when it comes to pricing and things of that nature. So that's an option. This 80-20 rule, which is odd, you know, I used to work for a religious organization and you hear the term 80-20, where 20% of the tithers pay most of the expenses in the 80%. So 20% of people are trying to pull the weight of 80%. In this case, you find the 20%. Now, Chester, this might be something for you. I don't know, Keith, but find the 20% of your customers who bring you the least profit and then raise their rates. Did that hurt a little bit? Yeah, it's kind of harsh.
Yeah, well, the problem is, and I think not one of my type of clients that I think I have the majority of problems with is companies or organizations that are nonprofit.
Okay.
And
So it goes back
that
to your ideal client. Do you want to continue them to be your ideal client?
and that's the case. I've talked to other folks in the industry that has similar businesses and do the similar things, and we talked about this. I mean, if it's a organization that is nonprofit, that is a good organization because it can boost your reputation of, you know, you help them, they may give you a good review and so forth. But I found that just throughout the years that nonprofits would be considered not the ideal companies to clients to get. Because we're mostly profit-based organizations where they're limited in their funds and they're relying on donations and so forth. So,
maybe it's not that you don't service nonprofits. Maybe you limit the number that you service. So instead of having 5 nonprofits as clients, you may only carry 1 or 2.
And that's where I think I'm
that's
going
where
to be
your
going.
limit is, because you know your experience with them is not going to yield you the type of ideal revenue that you really, really, really seek to have. So it's not that you don't service them, but in your revenue model, you say, I'm only going to do 10% of my clients is going to be nonprofit, or 20% is nonprofit, okay, and 80% is going to be for profit. And you set that as a rule. And you keep your heart and your humbleness because you feel good, but it ain't meeting your pockets, Chester.
Yes, it's not.
So that's the truth. I'm going to give you the truth. And that's the business of doing business, is the truth part of it. Is that it's not going to give you the revenue that you seek. So you're wasting a lot of time on that. You know, just being helpful, which is fine. So you give them a portion, not all.
And there was one thing that I worked with a nonprofit, and, you know, I even gave them a deal, which I was saying, okay, for the next 2 months, you know, if you have anything, I will do that for you. So that was their golden opportunity to start getting a lot of stuff in. So nothing happened during that time frame, and the 2 months was over and so forth. And I said, well, you know, you don't have anything. This is my standard rate. And this is also if you want to avoid, this pricing, because this is what I charge, you know,
Mhm.
for this one piece, or you can do my maintenance agreement, which, breaks down to, maybe $30 a month and just upfront fee, you charge that, and then I take care of whatever you need. So that they didn't want to do either of those, and that's where I sit there and was like, okay, I can't do this for free because I actually gave you a discount earlier by taking on your project,
Right.
so it gets to the point where you want to be charitable to some degree, but like you say, it's impacting my pockets. And I think that's one thing that these nonprofit organizations need to understand, is that when you're asking for this type of work to be done, that it costs. I mean, it costs large companies the same
Yeah.
thing uh, to get this work done.
And I think there's ways of doing that as well. As a strategist, one of the things may be the discount that you get, I donate back to the organization. So you get the money up front, but you donate 10% back. There's ways to kind of present it, and so that you still get the money that you have, but there's a discount donation back to the organization. So there's always ways to say, and you have to be comfortable with just letting that customer go.
Yeah.
And so that's what we got to feel comfortable with, and that what it takes for your level of expertise, which is the next one, based on your level of expertise, what it costs to really get things done. And so
And Miss
you have
Gayle,
to, yes.
yeah, and for the 80-20 rule, my take on that is that the 80% are really getting pretty much a free ride off of the 20. So not so much as a free ride, but the 20 is carrying the load for you, buddy. If we're talking truth here. And my
Mhm.
take on it is, well, if that's the case, then I don't have a problem with finding some area where I don't provide you the same service or the same quality as the others, or
Right.
paying
So
me
is
full
you
price and
saying
take advantage of the full services that I offer.
correct? So when you look down special prices for you, that's what that is about. That special price for you is really just about that. A principle for good salesmanship is basically like your prices do not have to be the same for all your customers. So whether you should set the price according to what the customers are willing or able to pay, special price for you, and the principle is used to every type of business. So just um, you might offer products of different quality, or perhaps sell add-ons to the same customers. But you can do that. You can have different packages, and I know you can have different packages based on different customers. You know what I mean? So, you do a lot of things, like especially like technology, software, online. You have options. You have the freemium model. You have the free option. And then you want the middle section, which most people buy because they know that people's eyes going to draw to the middle section. And then you have a monthly fee there. And then you have, the premium model. And so, which means that you're not treating all your customers equal, right? So having that opportunity option is that is another strategy that you can use, is that I'm not going to treat all of them the same. They come in this way, this is what they'll get. If they want the premium price, is this way. But of course, you're going to add more value on that. So your time spent on the value added one is going to be worth the price, because they're going to get more, but you're going to offer them more. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other piece is also making sure, when you consider your pricing strategies, is your break-even analysis that you have to do. Break-even analysis is that you have to consider all your fixed costs, and those are the costs that is not going to change no matter what, that you have to pay every month, whether you sell something or not. And then your variable costs that fluctuate, and considering what is the point, what are the number of units, or what are the number of customers I have to get to just break even to pay over my fixed costs, and then what above that will actually make a profit. If you don't know that answer, it makes it really difficult of your pricing strategy because you really don't understand that what you need to just cover your basic costs. So now it's not really personal about the customer. It's really about how I can survive this thing. Because you really got to figure out at what point do I need to be able to pay my expenses and make a profit for my business. And so those are just some key things to do. So I feel like I have talked, and what I want to do now, and I know it's just the two of you, so I'm gonna give you two guys an opportunity to kind of dialogue and just basically walk through some of those examples. And you may not know the answer to this. And I've gave you some spreadsheets to take with you before you go. So make sure you download those. That's in the chat box. So when you think about it later, you can kind of go back to it. But I'm gonna give you guys an opportunity to kind of chat amongst yourself and just say, is there one or two things that I can maybe consider that I can implement? And then the thing to keep in mind is that you always want to give your customers time before you increase your prices. So a lot of times you'll see as of December 31st, our prices are going to be this, or based on the pandemic, we have to charge this. That will go in effect October 1st. So you always want to give your customers just a little bit of heads up. You don't want to be wild out and just say, hey, you come here, you know, that's $100 more than what. No, you want to ease them into that. But I want you to think about these strategies and think about what is it that you can do that you think is reasonable for the type of business that you have. And everybody has something different. So I'm going to break you two out into this group. Just wanted to just recap and you guys tell me maybe some of the ideas that you guys kind of talked about. And maybe some suggestions of what strategies you think that will work for you guys.
I think one of the things that, I kind of talked about my business and how I do my packaging plan with Keith and just kind of give him a good understanding of how I go about doing my business. Now, it may not apply, obviously may not apply to his business because he's, in transportation, but I think that we can definitely share some of that that groundwork of what we need to do to change our environment to better suit our potential clients and so forth.
Great. Keith, you have anything to share? And again, don't forget to download a couple of those worksheets. So the first one is called the price evaluation sheet. So they kind of list your products and services, and then you kind of figure out what changes you want to make. The discount policy give you a list of options of different types of discount strategies. And so that may be good for you as well. Keith, are you back with us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Any takeaways from you and Chester's conversation?
Yeah, the areas that we have similarities in terms of structure, with the pricing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, he put this information in the chat box. It looked like, if anything today, you guys got a buddy. You taking away a buddy today. It's good to always have opportunities to network. Even though you're in two different industries, you may have some ideas to bounce off each other.
One of the best things I know.
Yes.
Right. Absolutely. Definitely. So we are out of time, and I just want to thank you guys for joining us. And of course, if this conversation gets larger and you need more technical support regarding that, like you want to run some by us, or like, would this sound right or whatever, you'll always have, MBAC to support you in that endeavor. And so, we just want to make sure that we are here to support you always. And so feel free to reach out to us and let us know if you need more assistance in that area. So hopefully that this was helpful in some matter. If it's just 1-2 things that you can take away, that will be helpful in your business.
Thank you once again, Ms. Gayle. And I want to thank also the MBAC of Columbus for providing this opportunity and your services. It's lent me a great deal of confidence. It's given me some reassurance on some areas that I had a number of questions on, and
Okay.
I'm encouraged to go on with the next steps.
All right. And we look forward to working with you in the future. I mean, we family. So, you know, we want to make sure that we help you in any way that we can. And so, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me or Janine or a general email box, MBAC@cul.org if you have any questions.
Definitely.
And with that, I will close today, and you guys have enjoyed the rest of the afternoon.
All right.
Thank
You
you.
too. Thank you. Goodbye.
Nice meeting you there, Chester.
All right. Nice meeting you, Keith.